Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa Siegel. I'm a professor of migration studies, and this is a channel about all things migration. Now today we are going to continue with our second Ukrainian displacement update. So this is as of April 21st, 2022. Of course, we have had an update a few weeks ago. I will try to come out with an update every few weeks on the current displacement situation in Ukraine. So I will make sure to talk about internal displacement, international displacement, and a little bit about the EU's response to the current Ukrainian situation. So the data that I'm using in this video mainly comes from the International Organization for Migration, from their internal displacement report, also from a general population survey round that they have done within Ukraine. It also comes from IOM's displacement tracking matrix. And there are a few other sources also that we might throw in there. But let's jump right into the unfortunate highlights of the situation. The situation has gotten worse, as in there is more displacement since the last time that we spoke. We currently have a little bit more than 7 million people internally displaced. This is as of the beginning of April, so of course the situation has probably worsened. As of the 1st of April, there were more than 11 million people who were displaced both internally and internationally from Ukraine. Again, of course, this is more than a quarter of the population of Ukraine. Now, let's look at some more statistics. Let's look at how this has developed over time. So here you can see between March 16th and April 1st, how numbers have increased, both with regard to those who are internally displaced. So that means people who are not able to cross an international country border. So they are displaced within Ukraine. Then we have refugees who've been able to make it across the Ukrainian border into another country. Most of this is being hosted in EU countries. But of course, they are not the only ones that are also hosting Ukrainians at this time. You can see there's been also, just between March 16th and April 1st, more than 1 million additional refugees fled the country. And if we look at those people who are actively considering leaving their place of residence, it was a bit more than 2 million people on March 16th. And as of the 1st of April, it was almost 3 million people who were considering to leave. So you can think of these people as possible future internally displaced persons or also possible refugees. Now, if we look at the demographics of internally displaced persons, we see that more women have been displaced than men. If we also look at the different age groups, we see that around 32% of the internally displaced persons are between the ages of 30 and 39, and another 30% are over 50 years of age. If we look at the households that have been displaced, we see that 50% of the households that have been displaced have at least one child in them. More than 50% have a person above 60. 30% have someone who is chronically ill, and almost 20% people with disabilities. So of course, the ability to give assistance, to give help here is extremely important. So here we see where IDPs are currently residing using IOM data, and it shows us that not only the estimated number of IDPs living in each region, but also how this number has changed from the first survey round to the second survey round. And just like what I showed you before, we're seeing increasing numbers, the largest number of displacement in the west, then the center, north, and then the eastern regions. Now let's move from internal displacement to international displacement. These are current figures from UNHCR as of April 20th. So currently, as of April 20th, more than 5 million people have fled Ukraine since February 24th of 2020. So already since my last update video at the end of March, this is an increase of more than 1 million people. So here we can see the total refugee influx from Ukraine to neighboring countries. So the largest hosting country at the moment is Poland by far, hosting more than 2.8 million Ukrainians. Then we have Romania in the second place, who is currently hosting 763,000 Ukrainians. Then the Russian Federation, that is hosting just above 500,000 people. Hungary, that is hosting close to 500,000 people. Similarly with that of the Republic of Moldova, who is hosting 428 100,000 people, then followed by Slovakia, who's hosting close to 350,000 people, and then Belarus, who is currently hosting close to 24,000 people. So you can see the countries that are hosting Ukrainians are those that are definitely in the neighborhood, with Poland hosting the most, but a lot of other countries hosting close to 500,000 people or more. Now, if we look at international displacement over time, the largest numbers of displacement were really at the beginning of this crisis. So from really the end of February to maybe mid-March, but we're seeing sustained, continued displacement flows. Really, since the end of March till now, we're seeing very regularly, more than 50,000 people being displaced, every day. So these are really, really sustained numbers of people that are fleeing the country. So additionally, I think it's important to look a little bit at the EU response. In the last video, we already talked about the EU directive that had been triggered that gives, direct access to residency, education, the labor market, and health, which is great, at least for the next year. The EU also launched on March 8th, the Cohesion's Action for Refugee in Europe, or CARE. This really allows for the expedited relocation of funds for emergency support to people fleeing from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Additionally, in 2022, now the 2022 envelope of 10 billion of recovery assistance for cohesion and the territories of Europe, or REACT EU funds, can also be used now to address the new demands within the overall aim of a post-pandemic recovery, but these funds can also be used specifically for the Ukrainian situation. So in general, what is quote-unquote emergency support? It is to be used to access services such as temporary accommodation, food, water, supplies, or medical care, to enhance the capacity of member states to cater for the needs of refugees by supporting additional infrastructure, equipment, or staff. Additionally, member states may use this funding to develop also tailor-made solutions for long-term integration of people with a migrant background through investments in housing, education, employment, health, social inclusion, and care, or other social services. So this was, again, a quick snapshot on what we know about Ukrainian displacement now, what the numbers are with regard to IDPs and refugees, where they are, what is the EU response. I will continue to try to come out with videos like this every 2 to 3 weeks so that you can stay updated on the current situation of Ukrainian displacement. For those of you that might have more information, please feel free to link this in the description so that others can have access to it. I will also make sure to link other resources in the description. If you found this video useful and helpful, of course, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure to also click that notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos that we upload every week on different migration issues. And I definitely hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.